Hey guys, welcome back to Rollin Into Retirement, the channel where a couple of snowbirds take on RV tips, RV walkarounds, RV reviews, food and wine, photography, and more.
Today we're going to show you how Mike and I plan our trips and the tools that we use.
Stay tuned.
Now I'll be showing you some general features of RV Trip Wizard. This will give you an overview so that if you want to try the program yourself, you can look for their free version and kind of have an idea of how you could go about planning your own trips. In the future, be on the lookout for a tutorial of the program where I'll show you how I use the program from beginning to end when we plan a trip. So I've opened up on RV Trip Wizard our Snowbird 2019 trip. You can see this is the entire trip from New Jersey down to Florida. On the left side you see the campgrounds that we stopped at. As I hover over them, you'll see that they bounce on the screen. If I wanted to get more information about the Hershey Park Camping Resort, I would click on the I for information, and it gives me anything that I need to find out about this particular campground. So I can go to their, look for some features. I can go to reviews, and they give you the basic review. If you clicked on see more details, it brings you to the campground reviews so that you can see a better, more detailed review. Sometimes people will put in tips about restaurants, places to go, things to do, and you can check the weather. So right now in Hummelstown it's 52 degrees. This was a campground that we chose. So when I decide that I want to add that to the trip, you just simply click on this little button, tell it how many nights you want to stay, and then tell the program where this particular campground fits into the trip. So this was our first stop, so we put it right here under our Toms River storage area. And then it will give you everything that you need for the Hershey Park Camping Resort. As we go down, one of the things that you may have noticed on the screen here are these 3 circles. Each of those circles, when you're looking for campgrounds, these circles are mileage. So from where you are out to the green circle is 100, the orange is 200 miles, the red is 300 miles. We tend to like to keep our trips at 300 miles, no more than that during the day. So that would give me an idea of what kind of campgrounds are in that particular area. So here's the trip settings tab opened to the routing and driving. And you can see here are the information for the circles, and you could really make this whatever kind of mileage you like to drive. For us, we usually use this, use my average speed, and usually we set it at 55 miles an hour. That gives us the time for from one place to the other. But you do have choices when it comes to Trip Wizard, so whatever is your preference would be the way you would use the program. If I was going to be at Endless Caverns, so there's Endless Caverns on the map. If I bring that out so I get a better idea of the area, you'll start to see those circles appear on the screen. So now when I'm searching for campgrounds, I turn on the campgrounds in the area, and if I'm looking for Endless Cavern, I can hover over it so I can see where it is among all those little tents. And if I think, well, maybe we want to go 100 miles and I want to see what campground this particular one is, it will zoom in, and now I have a lot of campgrounds to take a look at. One of the other things that we use, if I find a campground in a particular town, I might go out to Google and look for other campgrounds, because sometimes not every campground would be, there in the area. We also use an online website called I-95, and that gives you information about campgrounds that are close to I-95, which is a good thing, so if you're just going to do an overnight and you don't want to spend a lot of time. So to make the screen easier to look at, once you've picked your campgrounds, you certainly can hide all the campgrounds. We are doing this video during the COVID-19 pandemic, so TripWizard has actually added something that will let you hide parks that are closed, so you're only seeing those parks that you might be able to go to during this time. Now that we have our trip planned, there are other things that I do using Google Drive and using in the program here. I'll open up our trips again, and you'll see that once I have everything planned out, I break it up into legs. The reason that I do this is for printing. You can print your turn by turn, and I like it to be from one place to the other. Just the teacher in me, I like it to be organized. We create a booklet so that I have it in paper form. I have the TripWizard, and when Mike gets to his part, he does all of the
I do the planning with the Garmin, which we'll get into in a bit.
Right. Another tool that I use is to create a Google Doc so that I have everything on one document, and I can add things in as we go along. When we were in Great Smoky Mountains, I added different drives that we could use. When we were in there, we went to Dolly Parton, so I was able to put our reservation number.
And Drive has all the links that you can put the links in the Drive document. So when she shares it with me, when I'm doing my own stuff, I can actually just click the link and check it out, and I let her know yay or nay.
Right.
Usually yay.
Usually. Okay, so this is our final trip.
You'll be actually putting out a video on sort of a tutorial on RV TripWizard in the future, so kind of look for that.
Right, because right now they're in a new beta version, so I'm really just starting to play around with some of the features that are on the new program. So once we get that and I learn how to use them all, then I will do another video, maybe from scratch, showing you how I use the program. But this just gives you an overview. If you want to try it, they do have a free version that you can get a limited look at the program, so it's really worthwhile to take a look.
So once Betty Ann gets all this together, the next thing is I open it up and I go in and actually, just for my own benefit, I kind of take a look at areas where I think I can possibly stop for gas. Okay, so now here's another trip for our trip home. This particular trip is what I did after Betty Ann sent it to me. I went in and I actually popped in possible fuel stops. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna stop there, more than likely I will, but just so I have a little idea in advance. And again, sometimes this is a little bit of overkill, but I really go ahead and do it anyway. Another thing that I do is I actually use the tools, and they have some great tools in here, and I actually will first export it to the calendar. We use the calendar quite a bit, so you can export to a calendar, and it will actually, as you see, it'll make a regular ICS calendar, and you can open that up. It'll go right into, you can choose, make a new calendar. Just to give you an example, let me open it up. And see, you can choose whatever calendar you want to drop it into, or you can make a new calendar. I'm going to skip that because I've actually already done that, so we have it in the calendar ready. I don't want to do it twice. The other thing that I do, and again, you don't really need to, but you can export this to the GPS. And if you want to get into it, you can actually download the GPX file, and I've done this, and import it into your Garmin. I honestly don't do that. I'm going to show you in a minute or so what I do with this information with the Garmin, and I use Copilot. But what you can do is import this GPX into Google Maps, and that's something you can do as well.
Okay, so that was my general overview of how I use RV Trip Wizard. Mike's going to take over now and show you what he does with the information that I've put together so that our trip will be fully planned.
So once Betty Ann sends that information off to me, before we take our trip, I'll start planning routes in advance. So the first thing I do is I use my Copilot app. I bought this app. It's another RV type app that sort of like using your Garmin, but only using your iPad if you like. And I use it. I'm a little bit of a techie freak, so I like to have all the different things, but I like to use it to compare the routes. And many times what Copilot said doesn't necessarily match what the Garmin says, and then I look at Google. So worst case, then I grab out the paper maps. The other thing I do is I'll take a look at the website of the campground we're going to and see if they have any unique directions that you need to know as well. So once I have the address of the first place, and this is the first place we're leaving on Monday to go home to New Jersey, we go to Kingsland, Georgia. The address is 2970 Scrubby Bluff Road, and that came up, and we put it in, and you'll see it gives you two possible routes. In this particular case, we're going to stay straight on 95, and we're going to use that route. Now what I do then is I just quickly open up, and that's the first direction. If you hit that there, you go on and you can actually see the turn-by-turn directions. So this allows me to see if there's any changes. This looks like a pretty straightforward. It's only 0.8 of a mile off of 95. There's not a lot of back roads to do, but this just gives you an idea of what I do. Once we do that, we then move to the next step, and that's to go into the Garmin. I'm going to try to do this with the camera here. We do where to, and we put in an address, and the first step is 2970 and you have to make sure obviously you're searching in the right state, and you hit go. Now I plan on doing a little bit more in-depth view of the Garmin 770. There's ways to do route shaping. If you don't like the route,
please drive to highlighted route.
Thank you. If you don't like the highlighted route they like and you want to do it a little bit different, and I have done it, you can do what's called route shaping, and you can actually just change it so it goes to the direction that you like. But the point is, this basic video just to show you the steps that I do. Next I go and I take a look here, and I go back just to see if there's anything different. This does look a tiny bit different, so I'll probably go through. Let's just take a look. This has you getting off exit 333 is correct. Puts you on the Beltway around Jacksonville, and exit 35B, it's the same directions. So that's basically the same directions as Copilot uses, so I'm kind of happy with that. Now you can go into Trip Planner and you can hit Save Trips, and you can tell it to save the active route that you just did. So I'm putting that in there, and I can save this route and rename it, and I'll rename that to Jacksonville. Let's just call it Jackson for the ease of typing in. And now I have Jackson in there, and when I'm ready to go on Monday, I can just hit it and it'll take me right to the route, and I'm ready to go. You can see I have other saved places that I've gone to in the past on the trip down, and we just keep them in there. Once I've done all that, then we just go ahead and we are ready to start the trip. All right, well, there you have it. Those are the steps that Betty Ann and I take to create any trip that starts with Trip Wizard. What you saw was just a small amount of the things that she does, but she gets into it. She'll dive deep, look for spots. She'll put them on a Google Drive document. She'll send that stuff to me. Once the two of us approve it, we call and we make the reservations. And then once the reservations are made, I get in, and at least the first trip, sometimes the first two, I get in and do what we showed you before on Garmin 770 and the Copilot app and Google Maps as well. And I compare the route just in case to see what's going on and to be sure that things match, just to make things a little bit safer for us when we travel. Listen, if you liked this video, please smash that thumbs up button below, subscribe to our channel, and click that little alarm bell. That way you'll know when we put out some new videos. Again, thanks again, and we'll see you all soon.